This show is brought to you by DF Studios Limited. Whether you're a business owner or entrepreneur, DF Studios will guide and assist you on the best ways to promote your brand digitally, in addition to creating visitor and customer generating content like blogs, social media posts, videos, and even podcasts like this one you're listening to right now. Visit dfstudiosltd.com or hit up info@dfstudiosltd.com for more info. And last but not least, man, let's talk about Avatar: The Way of Water, right?
Yes.
But let's just for a few minutes, just to talk about the film that started all, right? 2009's Avatar, right? So I'll just share my quick experiences in it, and then you could jump into your quick experiences and talk about this new one here, right? So for me, when this came out in 2009, right? I mean, at the cusp of the 2000s, sorry, right? Um, this was an absolute game changer for me, man, in terms of just the visuals, just the world building, and just I don't know, just showing us a world that we've never seen before, right? And you could tell that James Cameron like literally put his heart into this too. It just echoes a lot of his other films, whether it be Aliens, with the Marines, or The Abyss, you know what I mean, with these, with the alien stuff and whatnot, right? And even Titanic as well too, with the whole heartfelt messages and whatnot, right? Yeah, I mean, you could tell that there's a lot of Cameron's personality in this, right? And just to get the criticism out of the way, no, this is not the most original, story out there, right? No, I mean we've seen this before. The what should I say, the outsider who more or
Dances
less
Wolves,
links up
yeah,
with
right.
the indigenous people, and
Yeah.
of course he falls in love with a female there, and
Twinkly,
he yeah.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and then he learned, he supports their cause now, and now he has to stop his own brethren from trying to wipe them out. I mean, we've seen this numerous times, right? It is literally dances with wolves, right? But still, it was just something that we never saw before, even though there's a lot of, admittedly derivative stuff and whatnot, right? But still, as experience, it worked, right? Um, I know some people sort of wrote it off after they saw it theatrically, but I managed to see it. I managed to see the extended version, right? I actually saw that a few times. I actually really
Right.
enjoyed that version, right? Not in love with that movie, by the way, right? But yeah, the extended version really filled in certain blanks, right? Especially with the character of Grace, played by Sigourney Weaver, who you'll
Right.
get into with this film here, right? But yeah, in terms of what it is, though, yeah, this movie delivered. It is, I would say, one of the most memorable and one of the greatest, I must say, blockbusters ever made, right? 'Cause, yeah, this movie not only was one of the most, I think at the time, the most expensive film ever made, but yeah, it just made a shit ton of money in the box office, right? And
Yeah,
you all
most successful box office movie. So
exactly,
it
yeah.
was passed for a short period of time by Avengers Endgame, and then came back in and took it back.
Right. Exactly. So a few things for you, right? At the time, yes, it utilized 3D in a rather clever way because, at the time, especially the early 2000s with films like Shark Boy and Lava Girl and,
Yeah, yeah,
stuff like Spy Gets 3D. Yes, we had to blame Robert Rodriguez for this, man. Yeah, it was some gimmicky shit, man. But here, Cameron made sure that, it was all about detail. Like, there's these great moments where you see like a couple blobs of water, and it always seems like it's just coming out of the screen and coming right in front of you, like stuff like those little details. Now that's what I love about it. It just add a lot of texture to what you're seeing. It's not just gimmicky stuff, characters showing their face and jumping right in front of you. No, it wasn't like that, right?
yeah,
um and then of course, because of that, a lot of people just had to pimp out 3D, right? So if it is one thing going in with the Way of Water, I mean, I would say yes, you should see it in 3D, but I would say don't expect something, extraordinary when it comes to that, right?
yeah.
But last thing in terms of Avatar, right? So I have to, address the elephant in the room, right? Um, I don't want to call it a backlash, right? But I just, it's just like when people look back at Avatar, they always like, all right, I don't want to watch that again. 'Cause I don't want to see blue people. I don't want to see the blue people movie. The blue people this, the blue people that. And they find it all silly and hokey, and especially with the
Yeah.
environmental messages and whatnot. Look, I will defend Cameron and his vision here. Like again, while it's not the most original thing ever, it does feel genuine. It does feel heartfelt. It feels like yes, like I mean, the man spent a majority of time in a submarine for God's sake, right? So
Right.
man loved Nietzsche, and he's all about taking protecting wildlife and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
right?
and yeah,
Especially
it was
underwater, right?
last time. Yeah, yeah. The first one was, well, you see with this one, the first one was the rainforest. This one is the ocean because yeah, the ocean is a
Right.
big thing in the news nowadays. So
Exactly. Yeah.
thematically it works. Yeah,
Yeah. And you could say, well, the story is all weak and whatnot. The best way how I could see it, again, I using term blockbuster, right? Look at Star Wars, right? The first one, right?
it's a four
1977, right?
quadrant story. Like
Right. It's it's
right,
it's like that, right? Like what while you could look at that film and even stuff like say, sorry for saying this, even like his earlier work, like say Terminator or The Abyss or whatnot, or even
yeah,
Aliens, right? It's not like they have like I mean they're very well written, right? I must say, right? But they're not like some sort of like intellectual stuff that oh my god, there's so much context in it. No, it's a sci-fi action film that you get, right? Well, sci-fi
yeah,
action adventure film that you get, right? It plays in notes, yes, but you get exactly what you paid for, right? So you might scoff and roll your eyes, the blue people, and
correct.
it's so silly. But no, that's the world that the man creates. So you got to respect it. So I will say, going into this one here, you kind of have to watch back the old one, right? But if you really, really like, I know some people who just saw it once and they say, nope, I don't want to see it again because this is dumb, right? But yeah, I would say if you had to go into this one, you kind of had to watch your first one for better or for worse, right? And I love just get a slight little spoiler here how Cameron pretty much say, all right, it's 13 years since I dropped the last film. I'm not even gonna stop to explain to you things what happened in the last film. I'm not gonna explain to you,
Ah,
the
yeah,
whole tendril thing in the oh gosh in the
Ava.
in the hair and whatnot, and I'm not gonna explain it A1 and all that kind of stuff. No, 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 no. You have the old film. You go and watch that shit. You don't want to watch it. That's your problem. You know what I mean? So I love that. I love that the show does not stop to hold your hand and tell you what everything that happened in the first film because you're too lazy to see it. You don't want to see blue people, right? But anyway, that's my rant. But that's just my thoughts on the first after. But yeah, Ricardo, your honest thoughts on the first movie, and just asking a quick question here. Did you rewatch that film in preparation for this, or you were
Uh,
actually familiar with it already?
I was yeah mostly familiar. I actually when I finished this one, I went back and watched that one just to remind myself of a factor, a certain plot point from this one.
Okay,
Just
okay,
just to clear up the plot point a little bit. But now for the most part, um, yeah, no, Cameron, as I say, he played the game to win. I mean, yeah, he's one of the few to actually make the effort with the treaty, and I would say, 3D as a thing only he kind of really utilized particularly well. Very few people other than him utilized it. I think at the time, it was really just him, and I remember How to Train Your Dragon like did that well because and it made perfect sense because yeah, there's a lot of flying and movement in 3D space, um, so to make it work now. With this one, well, in my personal case, I didn't see this in 3D. I saw this in Gulf, what do you call it, Cinema One in Gulf. That didn't have that didn't have 3D, but I still thoroughly loved it. I'll more likely go back to in 40x or somewhere where it have a lot of 3D to make that work and see how it feel. Or what it is I was missing visually, but like no, I dug it for what it was, what you're trying to do and see. In the original film, yeah, it's pretty weak, and yes, it is. There's a lot of. Oh, I don't like people like in saying naivety or thing, but no, it's just earnestness. It's a very earnest story, earnest narrative.
agreed. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll say yeah, and yeah, it does need a lot of punching up, right? I do think a lot of dialogue was kind of bad. It is a bit silly and a bit shocking that Unobtainium still made it to the final draft.
Yes,
But
boy,
yeah,
on Optinium, bro.
yeah, I
I
mean, God,
mean,
there's some like there's some real filler shit that you're probably needing, but whatever. It makes it work for what it is, and again, Cameron played the game to win, as in, look, you know, you want to get as much people to watch this bullshit as you can. Well, that's what has to happen. But yeah, I dug it for what it was. It does what it has to do for its main purpose. And yeah, the movie mostly works. You can see why it was so popular. There's a reason why it won. Cameron knew exactly what he was doing with that shit, and yeah, they make it work. For what it is, again, it had, if I remember correctly, there was a somewhat deeper script. Uh, in our earlier draft, but you can see why you don't want to make it too deep or try to get into like the intricacies of tribal life or anything like that. No, you do it, you make it thing. You could dismiss it as silly, but no, you know you do it. But yeah, I actually give it a decent enough score, all things considered. Especially when you look at it for what its intended purpose is. He's like, no, the man know what you're doing, Johnny. You cannot make the deep sci-fi if you want, Why the film shines actually in terms of is the world building. I remember being quite impressed with the verisimilitude with respect to the ecology of the world, just like how animals work, how the logic of it works in terms of it's a lot of it's actually quite well done for what it was. Like little things like you see this little creature that's kind of like a frog, but it like has a big spinning thing on it, and it's like you're asking questions. Hey, does that make sense biologically? And when you actually check it, it actually does. A lot of it does work for the most part. It doesn't nothing feels too fantastical from that standpoint. Um, but yeah, I it's a simple story. They tell the story. Yeah, it's a little flat, and yes, Sam Worthington goes on to have one of the most utterly mediocre careers after. Right, not a surprise.
Dude,
But
man on a ledge, anyone?
yeah,
Remember
but
that shit?
yeah, but I don't have any major things going forward with respect to any of that. Zoe Saldana goes on to have a great career, and um, so that's not a problem anyway. And
Yeah,
yeah, they bring back
well, the joke is that she went from blue to green, right?
right. But even the one thing that actually surprised me was I didn't even know that fellow from the boys was in the first Avatar. Somebody told me, I was like, oh shit, that was him. This is the guy who plays Mother's Milk.
Oh, he
Uh,
was there. He was,
yeah,
well,
he was
one.
the main kind of main male rival and kind of main courting character from
Oh, him.
that
Okay,
was him.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the one who died, the one who was the oh
Yeah,
gosh, well, the head warrior, whatever it is, and then he
right, that
died in
dude.
the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
I
know
was
it was
like,
him.
okay, cool.
Okay,
Right, so he
all
goes
right.
on to plays Mother's Milk, who's one of my favorite characters in the boys. Like, yeah, cool. Yeah, CCH Pounder, she was good. Story was great.
Yeah, I
For what he
forget
was.
she was in that too. That's why I
Yeah, yeah.
think West Studi was there. He was the
Yeah.
father thing. I could be wrong. Yeah.
Right. And they make it work for what it was. I mean, it looked great. The 3D was impressive. And yeah, that's how I feel about the first one. I give the first film like a quite a high score, like a 7.5 out of 10, pretty high actually, for what it was trying to do. And especially if you're looking at it from that tech demo, via the fourth quadrant approach to how they tell it. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a fourth quadrant
Yeah.
film, a fourth quadrant film fire via tech demo because it looked great and Cameron had to practically invent a bunch of technology uh to pull it off. And yeah, it's so said so done, man. That's why he's the goat, to borrow from that dumb meme, right? Yeah, they demand do eating. Can't take away. And then now you have Disney money, we could see where we're going forward with the second film, and we could talk about it whenever you're ready. Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you don't mind, what is the Way of Water about?
Right. So a little bit of time passed between the first end of the first film and the second film. So basically, what happens is that they start, life happens. Natiri gets pregnant, and she has multiple children. They have a adopted child involved in some mysterious sci-fi shenanigans involving what do you call her?
Greece.
Grace. What was the actress name? I was trying to yeah.
Sigourney.
Sigourney
Sorry,
Weaver, right?
Sigourney
Yeah,
Weaver. Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver's character. She has some things, so she born. So they have three biological children and then an adopted child. In the form of Sigourney Weaver's character with some sci-fi shenanigans, and then they have a human adopted child called Spider. So it's like the five of them being raised with Natiri and them, and they're basically going through life. The children grow up, they're adults. They reach the point of the age of, well, it's implied roughly around 14 to 16. It wasn't clear exactly. Uh, and then the humans came back. Yeah, the humans come back, and they occupy the planet again. So now with a lot of more forces and more things, so they can't just up and fight them again. And they basically what they do is they operate like a kind of insurgency. So and they have the leader of the Navi insurgency is now most wanted. And then Colonel Arich, what's his character's name by Arich? Basically, he's the bad guy from last.
Quaritch.
Correct, sorry, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He has a cloned body that is made of Navi body. His memories was uploaded, and he basically his body is sent to basically specifically deal with and go after Jake Sully and his family, the Sullys. And so what Sully kind of worked out, he said, look, just to avoid everybody being in danger, I will leave. I will move away from just to keep myself hidden and not being tracked down because if Jake Sully is dead, you could keep things quiet because of this insurgency. he'll go to another part of the world. But that didn't help because the fella chased him down, and that's the story. They go to the water part, where you get to see this water part of the part of the world, and that is basically the story. There, it's just him trying to set up a new life, and you basically focus a lot on the kids, and then something mysterious going on with Sigourney Weaver's character, and then a little piece of drama involving Spider and who's Spider parentage, and yeah, they make it. That is what it is. Simple story, and it looked amazing. It's 3 hours long. It's paced out quite well. I felt in terms of telling everybody's story and everybody parts and how things come together and weave together, and it have something a big plot device, and well, they bring in a brand new plot device that's a new Artemium, and which was very silly, but it makes some sense. And again, for the sake of the making you hate humans, they tell a whole extended sequence involving how they got that, and it's very brutal and sad. And yeah, they get to meet the water people and what they're doing, and that's basically the story. We'll get into that. No super details about that because it's just sci-fi shenanigans. But it looked good. It's well paced, and I actually enjoyed it for what it was. And it's just Cameron, just doing his greatest hits all in one. That's how I feel. But I thoroughly enjoyed it for what it was. It was actually pretty damn good. Yeah, like talk about it.
All right, so let me kick things off by saying the king of sequels has returned, man. Yes, I went in knowing that he has had he had, I should say, two of the greatest sequels ever made under his belt, with
Yeah,
Aliens and Terminator 2. And I would say that this here, The Way of Water, is a tribute, boy. The man literally came and did what he did best in terms of just expanding on the world that he set up before, right?
yeah,
And while it does not like reinvent the wheel like how Aliens and Terminator 2 literally did, right? It just more or less continue the story, right? So again, it's putting you right back in Pandora, you introducing reintroducing the characters again. And for me, going into this, it's almost like I never left it. It literally felt like I was
yeah,
there yesterday, right? Which is funny because I watched the first one a day before watching The Way of Water, right?
yeah,
Um let's get this out of the way. The visuals by OMFG, they are the great. I'm not even gonna say one of the best things. They are the best things I have seen in a
yeah,
theatrical release, I must say, this year, boy. And it's not just ILM, boy. The man hook up with Weta as well too.
yeah, boy.
So yeah, the man come just with guns blazing, boy. Literally every shot looks amazing, right?
Yeah,
I love how even too, like, compared to what he did in 2009, boy. Even like the character design, the visual. Well, sorry, the I should say the world building, I should say production design. Sorry, even the lighting as well too.
yeah.
Feels very feels improved, right, from what we
Yeah,
saw
but
before, right?
they had this running sequence. All right, so we know they don't really have day night in the same way because it's a moon. The Pandora is not a planet; it's a moon of a gas giant, right? So
Yes,
there's reference instead of referencing dawn and dusk, it reference eclipse. So it's how they do these day night cycles, and they cut to the eclipse event,
yes,
and that day and night cycle, how stuff look, stuff like what was impressive about this. Two things that are particularly impressive. One, all of the wet stuff and wet at night, like
yes.
that is very impressive. And then everything involving Spider and how seamless he was with everything moving about, especially with the amount of
Yes,
action going on. That was just super impressive. Like
it
yeah,
was. Yeah,
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 go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, Cameron and his team just knocked it out the park too. I mean, I know he's a perfectionist, right? And it's kind of funny at the same. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, a little worrisome that it took him this long to actually put this out. Like, I know there was some shenanigans behind the scenes
Well,
and whatnot, right? But
yeah. Well, no, I mean, he really say because like as I say, he cap out. I really hope he don't take too long with the third part. Like this really felt like a part two. Like it didn't feel complete. Like clearly they had to go and fight Edie Falco. Edie Falco is in this, yes.
yeah,
Uh,
yes. It was like,
right,
well, hey, McGill in this, okay, cool,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I really want him. Like personally, it would be a much smarter move to just say, look, he belted this out once per Christmas. Like, so I really hope that he bought something next year one time. It's like, nah, man, I
But
really
but
want
but
to
then
see.
but then it'll just end up being diluted like Star Wars. Remember there was a thing that
Well,
every
yeah,
year would be a Star Wars movie and we were excited at first, right?
no. The
Remember?
thing is, if it had tell a good story, that wouldn't have been a problem. The reason why Star Wars feel had nothing to do with the dilution or how fast it come out is that the writing was fucking shit. Like, yeah, like just admit that. Like, I enjoy episode 8, but episode 9 was such a waste of goddamn time. That was
My
the problem.
God, but
And with
yeah, yeah.
this, if you telling the right story, I don't mind seeing them pelt out one time and you pelt out the six one time now, once per year. Just, we forget, but make sure the story good. I mean, the story wasn't great anyway, but you just make sure everybody there on Pandora all the time. I don't know. I don't see that as an issue per se. But whatever.
Right,
Uh,
right, right. But well, speaking of that though, I think what I've been reading up is that we're supposed to be getting the third one way in 2026. That
okay, that's real
I mean,
fast.
it's not it is real far, not too
That's real
far
fast.
as
Yeah.
compared to like this one here, but yeah, that's a long while, man. Like yeah, I mean, I'm not wishing anything bad happened to him, right? But at the same time, you're telling yourself you're gonna be alive to put this out. You
Right.
will be alive on Earth on 2026 to put this out. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I
I
try
heard
to put
I
it
heard
out
he said
like
I heard he said
earlier.
that he have a person training for that. I don't know, like to continue to finish it. No, I don't know. But like to me, this is his baby, so like just put it out as soon as he can. But I don't know if Disney will rush him or anything like that. Because the thing is, he had to just make sure the shit. In the end of the day, he just had to make sure that shit render and looking good, right? That's how I just see this whole thing. To be
Yeah.
honest, like so,
Oh,
like
and speaking of render, I was thinking about that word when I was watching this. Like, yeah, they
yeah,
render that shit, boy. They
yep,
probably update software like
yep.
like numerous
Just
times, but they render
how
that, boy.
much
There,
how much
there's like,
supercomputer how much supercomputer burn up to make that work now for what it
boy,
is. Yeah.
like there's no incomplete shot in this way.
Yes.
Everything, every single shot looks great, man. I will not lie, right? The acting, I mean, well, the voice acting, I should say, right? Because yeah, and actually points for having the entirety of the show actually, well, I should say the near entirety of the show take place on Pandora, right? Because I
Right.
know for some people they felt like the human stuff was kind of dull, and it's like, let me just go back to Pandora with the forest and the bush and the people. Let me go back there. But here, it's like you're there, right? But the show wisely says, you know what? Yeah, we're gonna expand this world even further, and now we're gonna go and visit this water tribe, right? And again, going back to sequels, what I really appreciate here is that like in the first film, when I was rewatching this, I was like, is you wait till like the third act to say, oh, it have other tribes in this moon? Like it happens like literally when they go in for the final battle. That's when Jake, right, or Jake Sully as everybody call him. That's when he go and hook up with other tribesmen and they go to war. And
Yeah.
still at the end of the day, it was mostly Navi who was kicking the Marines' ass, right, or whatever, right?
Right.
But yeah, there was opportunity. Like I would say they kind of showcased that a little too late, man. Like all the
Right.
time we were thinking it's just Navi, right, and all the humans thinking it's just Navi, 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 right? But then near the end, they say, well, that other tribe too. It's like,
Well,
okay,
the
all
thing
right,
is, it never. The thing is, the whole thing was just the unobtainium stuff, man. Like that's all they cared about. So
True,
like,
true, true.
okay, it's
Mhm.
just I don't know. It didn't bother me in these kind of ways. No, it's like it's fine.
Right.
So they made it.
But
They made it work for it. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, but I do like that here it's like, all right, we're really gonna show you the other tribes, or we're gonna show you this one tribe, right? And this gives, Cameron the opportunity to do sort of like, a retread of what he did before with introducing, Jake to the world of the Na'vi, right? So here it's like, all right, Jake, who is now full Na'vi now, because if you remember from the end of the movie, right, where he
Yeah,
actually gives his consciousness over
yeah,
into
fully
his
uploaded.
body, right? He does that, right? Yeah, so it's like them now, his family now, having to learn about their ways and whatnot, right? Um, which leads to a few flaws that I have, right? Because yes, while we could talk about visuals for these way, just a couple of flaws, just a couple of things I wish that they did better, right? For one thing, while I have no problem with the show focusing a little bit more on Jake and the Tyrese kids, but I find like there's numerous moments where they were with the Water Tribe as we'll call them, right? Where we hardly saw Jake and Neytiri. It was more about Kiri as in
Yeah,
the adopted daughter and the other kids now. And
correct.
also they right. So just
I find the movie was really about the middle son. Well, the second son, I should say.
oh
Was
right, 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 right.
about
Because there's
him.
an
I find.
older yeah, there's right. So there's an older and there's a younger son. The older one, of course, is the more experienced warrior type, and the next one wants to be like him. So there's a nice little tension there going on with him, right? But like there's moments involving those two, for example, with them learning how to fly, the sea beasts, right? And points for the sea beasts themselves literally being flying fish. I got that sort of people it's like, okay, okay,
Yeah.
that's clever, like a sort of a prehistoric take on flying fish. I thought that was really clever, right? But yeah, like you didn't see Jake on the Terry learning. Well, you saw Jake do one thing, like he
Yeah,
was flying a bit.
Jake and Theory like matched it fast. So to me, I find this one was clearly about the kids. Like the story could you see the nature of the story is that it could totally go beyond Jake Sully and Tyrion. Like that was the start of the first
Agreed.
one.
Mm.
I find the way the story sets itself up is that no, it's gonna be about them kids going forward. Like in the next movie or whatever it is. I won't be surprised they'll kill off Saldana and or thing at some point. That is not a far fetched thing. We already setting everything up though.
Mm.
Whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, very, very epic, like, you know what I mean? Like we're watching an epic fantasy play out here, right? Yeah,
Right.
and also in those moments, I didn't see enough Neytiri, man. I should say throughout the
Right.
film, I didn't see enough Neytiri, Jay, because I love that, in the first film, she was the one who was teaching Jake about this world and what to do and what to say.
Yeah.
And, of course, they fall in love because you kind of come to expect that, right? But here, she was just kind of to the back, you know what I mean? She was always like, always showing up every time she kids get in trouble or they get hurt or whatnot. That's when she was there, right? I actually like the character of Spider as well too, right? He reminds me a lot of the feral kid from the Road Warrior. I feel that's where the reference comes from to begin with.
Right.
This kid who have a ras, right? Who this white kid with a ras running around bareback, and he's just acting like Navi, right? Doing the and stuff like that, right? I love the relationship between him and Quaritch, right? Well, Quaritch, right? Speaking of
Right.
Quaritch, right? I did not expect to see him back in this, right? And I actually love the idea that they sort of do a flip on the whole Avatar technology from the first film, where it's like,
Right.
okay, where we in these chambers now, right? And when we sedated and whatnot, that's when we could assume the rules of these avatars and walk around with the Navi and all that kind of stuff, right? Here they come and say, and it could tell that they more or less replicate the technology, right? And I'm glad that we actually saw Parker, right, played by Giovanni Ribisi. I was like, hey, this motherfucker in this too, right. This file will
Right.
be for parents. So it's almost like they replicate that and say, here's what we're just gonna take like your memories and whatnot, we're just gonna imprint them into this avatar body. Boom, the end, right? And yeah, it actually worked, and I actually like that the fact that we're seeing more of him, right, as this villain man, and it gives him the opportunity, more or less to see how it is to be a Navi, right? And I do like though that the show does not give you like it could have just easily said, okay, well, since he's a Navi now, we have to do the whole Jake thing where he has to, get with the tribe and learn about the culture. It's like, no, 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 we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. It starts off like that, but no, no, no. Like he's a guy. He's like, all right, I know it. I want to know what these guys are. Okay, they're there. All right, let me go there, right? And then when he ropes in Spider as well too, right? Which I thought worked, right? The new characters as well too. The water people, they're great. What I mean, I love the creature design and whatnot. Just that world itself though is
I'm
just so
surprised was
breathtaking.
the we call him Cliff Curtis they get. Cliff Curtis played the leader, but it's who you get for the mother. I was like, oh shit, reunion. Kate
Yeah,
Winslet.
Kate
I was like,
Winslet.
oh,
I was like, what? Yeah, like when I saw the name, I was like, oh shit.
I didn't know that
I,
was
I
her
didn't
until
even
the
know.
credits.
Exactly, right. I didn't know it until I saw the credits, to be honest, right?
Right.
And yeah, you know what I mean? It just that world is just so breathtaking, right? Just so gorgeous and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
You'll just from a visual standpoint, you will just fall in love with this world, right? But similar to the first film, I love how they bring that intensity. I love how they just show the humans as just being the bad guys. Yes, it's on the nose, we know, right? But
Yeah.
it's that
And
that
then
that world of Avatar, right?
these water people, they're so clearly Polynesian in their aesthetic and approach. And well, of course, Cliff Curtis is Mr. Polynesian. He's like one of those famous Polynesian actors. The only
Uh-huh.
person who more Polynesian or you could familiar with is Tamara Morrison. Uh, but yeah, I thought that was a real good call casting wise. It makes sense. I thought he was great, and their kids were great. I think it was he had a son and a daughter, and a friend, and then the son friend was the tree.
I think so.
They were
Yeah.
great. Yeah, they bounce off
Yeah.
each other good. They bounce off with Jake and the two kids quite well, and I was like I enjoyed all of that. It really felt new generation. Like that's why it was working for me. How it
Yeah.
felt.
Yeah.
And it was
Right.
great.
Again, similar to the last film, boy, the third act, boy, is edge of your seat. It's intense. It's action packed. It's thrills. Boy, like I was watching this boy, and like like when they say like edge of your seat, I was literally at the edge of my seat. Boy, I was shoving popcorn in my face. Boy, I was just like it, just glued in. Boy,
Yeah.
and again, I mean, this is just James Cameron at the height of his powers, right? Because you can laugh for days about how corny the dialogue is and the story and whatnot, right? But the man is an action director, and he shows it yet again with this man. Just some fantastic action sequences. But that whole third act alone was just goddamn amazing, in my opinion,
Yeah.
right? And lastly, I was a little let down a little bit of the. I don't want to call it a cliffhanger, but just more of a stopping point more or
Yeah.
less letting the audience know that yes, we're gonna have a part 3, right? Because we know he's gonna have a part 3, right? But I initially like when I saw the end, I was just like, wow, they just kind of stop it at that point. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But I
I have
get
no problem with
why.
that.
I get why, right? But
Yeah.
you're hinting of a sequel. Like I thought we had gotten something stronger, right? Because
Okay.
I just stay thinking, okay, well, what if we do knock on wood, we don't get to see the third one, right? Shouldn't this one be like the end point for now? And then if we get
Nope.
a third one, they just follow it up.
Man say,
I don't.
listen, man. My boy say 6 films. You 6 films. Die way again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's
when I think about it now, it's just like, well, all right, after applaud the man is brave. He's saying, yes, you're gonna get a part 3. Shut up, you're gonna get a part 3, right? So that's how it
exactly.
is. So like, all right, okay, respect, respect, respect. And I should mention one more thing. One more thing. The music is great, I must say, right?
Pretty good. Yeah.
In this case, now they did not get James Horner because James Horner passed away, right? They got Simon Franklin, right? I actually saw him during the Variety online event they had a couple weeks ago where they were talking about where they were talking to interviewing composers, right, film
Yeah.
composers. And yeah, he was one of the guys who was interviewed, and he was talking about how he had to continue James Horner's work, right? But because he knew him for like years and was familiar with his work and whatnot, he was able to. Well, there's a specific theme that, or I should say, a motif of a musical motif that shows up throughout this series, right? When you hear it, you'll know what it is, right? You know what it is, right? Um, and he was able to replicate it as well too, right? And you could hear certain like inflections of like what James Horner did in the last film. One moment in particular is when shit just hit the fan and things get pretty tragic. I know it's the moment, sorry, where the music swells and it feels like all hope is lost and everybody is crying, especially in the TV. Just always do that crying. You hear a piece of music, it's the same one that you hear in the last one as well, right? But yeah, his contribution to the musical aspect of this show is rather admirable, man. And I didn't even expect to hear my boy Weekend share. The man have a song. The man have a song for the movie. So like when the credits was showing the scene names and whatnot, I was like, hey, Weekend, okay, word, all right. But I know we have like a lyric video out. I haven't checked it out as yet. But from what I hear, even though I know it's not the full song, they probably play like about half of it or something like that. Yeah, it sounds solid. It's Weekend, right? I mean, a Fox Weekend, right? But yeah, other than that though, Avatar: The Way of Water is the real deal, man. It's a shame that we wait this long for it, and I know some people will be a little let down that, oh gosh, like we wait 13 years and this is what we get, boy. But still, I think that from just across the board, it works, right? The visual effects, the sound design, I must say, right? Um, the action sequences, the voice acting, everything is just stepped up, right? And again, Cameron just being the king of sequels, again, this is just another great sequel on this belt, man. He was just able to expand this world whilst telling people, whilst not having to retell the same story from before. I really, really do appreciate that. So yeah, for me, rating wise, I'm gonna give this a light 4.5 out of 5, man. This is one of the year's best films. It's gonna be in my best of for the year for sure. And I'll just say this in closing: if you could not care less for blue people, yeah, sorry, boy, this movie is not gonna be for you. But I would say, especially if you only saw the first movie once, sorry, watch it again. It still holds up. And believe you me, when you see that and then you go into this one, you will thank yourself that you actually recapped that film, boy, because yeah, it's a really solid follow up to what we got before with the first film, right?
Yeah, so yeah, no, I thought this was excellent. Like a 8.5, 9 out of 10. It's all the visuals. The story is, I thought it was a lot better than expected. It was Cameron doing his greatest hits. Like the ending felt totally like Titanic, like a whole section, straight up Titanic. They had some nice guest stars in this. Again, Jermaine was in this from Fight to the Concords. They had some nice little guest people, side people. Yeah, and he was playing a serious character. Watching he feels like, hey, he died from Fight to the Concords. Nice one. To bring back everybody, slight, all the people who come through. Edie Falco was good in this. They make it work for what it was, and yeah, it really feel like a second movie. I hope I don't have to wait too long for this, but yeah, if we had to wait till 2026, then great. Whatever. For I understand, the cinema score is pretty high. It have an A+ so far, and I think it done make like close to 500 million this weekend already, worldwide. So yeah, not a surprise. It could do good. I enjoyed it. Close to 9 out of 10 actually, to be honest, with all the visuals. And this is me not even seeing it with 40x or 3D or any other that. I saw it in
All right.
normal TV and I enjoyed it.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I saw it in 3D. I would love to see it in in 2D. I mean, I know it's not going to be no big difference, so of course, right?
Right.
The 40x thing, I guess, I never,
Yeah,
honestly, still haven't
I might
tried
make the
40x.
effort for that, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, that's why I call the man the goat,
Yeah,
Messi the goat, Cameron the goat. We get some goat status this today.
this weekend, boy.
Yeah, this weekend it was hard. Yeah,
It
nine
was
out of
hard, it
10.
was hard.
I actually give it a quite a high score. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and yes, folks, we enjoy it so much. We want to see it again, and I imagine that if you do see this one, see it theatrically in particular, yeah, you're gonna want to see it again. Unless, of course, you're just not a fan of Blue People. But again, if you're not a fan, it's not for you. That's okay. That's okay.